From lands across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains.
A beautiful evening to you. You're welcome to Sports Extraordinary on Atlantic Television Network. My name is Kingsley Bano. Very happy to be here this evening. I have a lot for you as we're going to take a look at some interesting issues in the beautiful water sport over the weekend. We'll take a look at the Nigerian Premier Football League and not forgetting the English Premier League, where we saw a little bit of controversy. But we'll take a look at that as well as all the stories are revolving around the water sport. It promises to be an exciting one, so I urge you to sit tight as we have a lot for you this evening. We'll take a break and we'll come back from the break or unravel all that you need to know revolving around the beautiful water sport. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Sport Extraordinary on Atlantic Television Network, and of course I have with me Emmanuel Michael. Michael, you're welcome. How was the weekend?
Kingsley, was a Mazalin weekend. I actually had fun enjoying myself over the weekend, and of course you know how the weekend is always panned out. A whole lot of sporting activity ranging from football down to Formula One, athletics, boxing. So I had a swell time over the weekend.
All right, let's take a look at, this time not boxing, but mixed martial arts, as an emotional Francis Ngannou marked his return to mixed martial arts with a first-round stoppage of Renan Ferreira at the PFL Super Fight event in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Cameroon's Ngannou knocked out Ferrari with some brutal ground strike at his first MMA contest in nearly 3 years. The 38-year-old shed tears as he dedicated the victory to his late 15-month-old son, Kobe, who passed away earlier this year. Michael, was a very impressive outing this time for Francis Ngannou. Was a very interesting one. What do you make of his performance, against Ferreira?
I think for me, it was an impressive display from Francis Ngannou, especially considering the fact that it's been over 2 years as he's away. He was away rather from the octagon. Coming back this time around, putting up an impressive display, I think for me it was a massive show for him. Of course, you know that this is an area that is very, very familiar with, because before leaving that very area to, venture into the world of boxing, he has actually, made a mark for himself in the octagon. As he ventured into the world of boxing, did his best, but his best wasn't good enough, as he was actually dismantled in his second fight against Anthony Joshua. Now, spending more than 2 years before going back to a familiar ground, a familiar terrain, you want to say, courtesy of his son, because according to him, that fight wouldn't have been possible if not for his son. He wanted to use that as a way of trying to honor Kobe, who just passed away. So for me, I think that mastery was still there for him, because it is a familiar area, and that helped him a lot to actually dismantle his opponent. But then, just like you said, it was such an emotional one for him. You saw him shedding tears in front of the camera when he was being interviewed and all of that. But then, you just need to give it to the man. Wait to see, maybe he's going to continue with the MMA, or is he going back to boxing? Will he retire? These are 3 questions that is begging for answer. But then, we'll get to know. Maybe in a few days' time, in a few weeks' time, in a few months' time, before we get to know that. But overall, I think it was an impressive display from Francis Ngannou.
Francis Ngannou, of course, put up a very impressive display down there. Since leaving the UFC as 8th heavyweight champion 22 months ago, Ngannou, of course, has put up a very impressive one for himself. But for me, it has not been that rosy for him, especially in boxing, where he was beaten by Tyson Fury and also Anthony Joshua. But looking at the fact that, he, like I mentioned, he considered retirement earlier this year, but said he had to take up the fight to honor his late son. But a lot of persons are still expecting the man, to maybe to take a look at boxing once again. I don't know what will be your opinion for him at this point.
For me, I think the ball is on his court, whether he's going to pick up boxing as his major profession out there. I don't know. But just like I said earlier, there are too many questions begging for an answer. Whether he's going to go back into boxing, will he stay with the MMA, will he retire? These are 3 questions, like I said earlier, that is begging for answer. We'll just wait to see, keeping our fingers crossed to see the direction to which Francis Ngannou will be heading to. But for me, if you ask me, I think he should take his time, just maybe take his time, weigh the options and see. If it is good for him to go back to the ring, to the world of boxing, better. If it's for him to stay with the MMA, better. But then, if you take a look at the money that he was able to recoup, because of, adventuring to the world of boxing, we say, yeah, very, very huge. In fact, in all his entire, octagon fight, he has not been able to make such huge amount of money that he made just fighting those 2 boxing fights against the Gypsy King, talking about Tyson Fury and, Anthony Joshua. And of course, he gave a very good account of himself in the fight against Tyson Fury. But just that the judges did actually favor him, in quotes, because he was able to put up an impressive display. Floored Tyson Fury on his canvas, but some of those decisions didn't go his way. Then against Anthony Joshua, who was very, very ready to make his comeback and stake a claim because of his reputation and image that was battered because of losing his bet. Anthony Joshua took him to the cleaner. But then, like I said, you take a look at the amount of money that was able to rack up for fighting in the boxing ring for 2 fights. I mean, it outweighs most of the fight that he has fought, being at the octagon. So I don't know whether he's going to go for the money in the world of boxing, or is he going to stay in a familiar terrain, talking about the octagon.
All right, let's keep our fingers crossed and see which direction Francis Ngannou, of course, would take this time. But let's talk tennis, as Rafael Nadal reflected on an amazing rivalry with Novak Djokovic, and said he would not have been the player he is today if not for the rivalry between him and Novak Djokovic. Michael, I don't know what you make of this statement from Rafael Nadal.
I think it's very vintage statement for me, and I think there is so many sense to derive from what he said out there. Just like I said in our sister station out there, it's more likely to when you are in a classroom, maybe in a primary or secondary school. If you're a very brilliant student in the class that always takes first or even second position in the class, and suddenly a new student comes in that is very brilliant as well, that is trying to give you a run for your money, what do you need to do? You need to burn extra candle just to make sure you keep up to that pace out there, and that brings a whole lot of challenge and competition among the both intelligent people in the class out there. That is what it is likened to. Without that rivalry between Rafael Nadal and Novak Djokovic, I do not think we should have seen or would have seen the best of Rafael Nadal. So those rivalry actually brought out the best in him, and that is why he is regarded as one of the greats, when it has to do with a long tennis out there. Talk about Novak Djokovic, who has 24 Grand Slam. The next man on your lips is Rafael Nadal, who has 22 Grand Slams. So for me, I think those rivalry was able to at least bring out the best in him, and without that rivalry, I think he would have rested on his own out there.
All right, was really an impressive one. Let's say it is, but the man, of course, would retire finally after the Davis Cup, and this time he's going to pave way for his rival. Talking about Novak Djokovic, he will be, will I say, the legend, one of the legends still remaining. And they say the likes of Andy Murray has retired, the likes of Roger Federer. You talk about Stan Wawrinka, not that active anymore. You talk about Rafael Nadal as well. So Djokovic will be the man, remaining among these big names as it stands. Michael, you think Djokovic still has what it takes to challenge the young boys now? Talking about Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz. You think he still has what it takes to stage that dominance we used to see in the midst of these young players?
Of course I do. Over the past couple of years right now, despite his age, he was still able to compete favorably well against some of these young lads, the likes of Jannik Sinner, Carlos Alcaraz, Jack Draper, Taylor Fritz, Stephen Foe, just name them. I think the man still has what it takes. Just like they say, the older the wine, the tastier it becomes out there. I believe he has what it takes. You saw what he did, during the last Olympic out there, where he actually pushed himself to the world to ensure that he won one of the elusive trophy that was missing in his trophy cabinet out there. And there was a whole lot of stars in the last Olympic game, but then he was still able to defy all to get to the final. Not just getting to the final, but also winning the only title that had been missing in his trophy cabinet. So for me, I still believe that the man still had the experience, to square up and compete at the highest level with some of these young gems.
All right, let's keep our fingers crossed and see what comes up for Novak Djokovic going forward. But world number one, Jannik Sinner beats Spain, Carlos Alcaraz in Saturday's final, earning the first prize for $6 million. Italy's Sinner, who's 23 years, lost the first set on the tie break, but recovered to beat 21-year-old world number two Alcaraz 6-7, 6-3, 6-3, and that's one. Michael, Jannik Sinner, despite the controversy, controversy surrounding him, he still has that, that strength, to showcase his dominance once again against Carlos Alcaraz.
Yes, for me, I think you need to give it to the man. Talking about Jannik Sinner, he has a very, very strong mental capacity. Despite the challenges, the obstacles of facing the doping issue and all of that, but then he's still able to put aside all those distractions and give out his best when it matters most, defeating one of the best as we are talking presently, because Carlos Alcaraz is still one of the best because he's ranked among the best 5 in the world as it is right now. But then Jannik Sinner wasn't distracted by a doping issue. He was still able to maintain his focus and did the needful out there. I think for me, you need to give it to the man. He truly deserves to be the champion of that very one.
Now, we're talking about the next rivals at this point in time. We've seen the rivalry between Novak Djokovic, Rafa Nadal, Roger Federer. We've seen Andy Murray as well being in that mix as well. But this time, it seems as if we just have, two players, putting up that rivalry at this point in time. That's Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz. The likes of Medvedev, Zverev, I've not really seen them, of course, in the mix. But I think the players that have been so consistent at this point in time is Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz. How long do you see this rivalry between these two players?
I think how long is a very simple question. There is still a very long way to go. We are going to see a very long rivalry among these two players.
You think that rivalry is going to stay for a very long time? Don't you think maybe any of them might drop anytime soon? Because
no.
The thing has been, who's going to put up that rivalry once again in the ATP after the likes of Rafa Nadal, Djokovic, they've all retired. And a lot of expectations, were on Medvedev. You talk about Alexander Zverev, Taylor Fritz and the rest of them, Stefanos Tsitsipas. But they've not really lived up to expectation. We've not seen that high level of consistency. Now we've seen a little bit of consistency from these two players, Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner. And that's what I'm asking. You think they can maintain this for a very long time?
Of course they can. Take a look at their age right now. I want to say, age is another factor when you talk about a long-time rivalry, because Jannik Sinner is 23 years, Carlos Alcaraz is 21 years, so they can maintain that rivalry for a very long time. Talking about Dani Medvedev, Tsitsipas, these are players that maybe for me they are very, very unserious, because whenever you expect them to stay very high and maintain that consistency, they just fall like a pack of cards. But then if you take a look at Carlos Alcaraz, I think over the last 3 years right now, we've seen a little bit of consistency. In fact, before you talk about Jannik Sinner coming into the fray, Carlos Alcaraz has been the player that everybody thinks, he is the poster boy, he is the next man online, because we saw him squaring up shoulder against the big name, talking about, Novak Djokovic. But all of a sudden, a season ago, Jannik Sinner just popped up, boom. We saw him also, staking a claim for himself. And of course, he saw how he was able to tame down Novak Djokovic in the Australian Open. And for me, I truly think that the world of long tennis is very, very safe in the hand of these two players, because over the last 2 years right now down the line, they have maintained a little bit of consistency, especially having some of the big names leaving, the stage right now. Andy Murray, Rafael Nadal, just name them. They are all leaving, remaining only the big man himself, talking about, Novak Djokovic. I think with a little consistency I've seen from these two players, I can assure you that we are going to see that, consistency in terms of rivalry among these two players. Maybe we just wait to see if there is any other name. We'll talk about Dani Medvedev, Taylor Fritz, Stefanos Tsitsipas might just, try to go back to their closest, work on their game and come back with something strong. Maybe we'll get to see 3 or even 4 rivalry. But to get that keenly contested rivalry in the days of these 4 great names, I think it will be very, very difficult to replicate. But one thing I can show you is that these 2 names is going to stay for a very long time.
Talking about these 2 names staying, and we, looking forward to see this rivalry for a very long time. If you take a look at it now, Jannik Sinner is ranked number 1, and Alcaraz is number 2. And there have been this argument that, of course, that people are building among these players that who is actually the best, among them. Don't forget, after the defeat to Alcaraz came up to say that Jannik Sinner is the best tennis player, in the world right now. But when you take a look at the stats between two of them, in their 10 meetings so far, Alcaraz has won, in that 10 meetings, he has won 6 times. Jannik Sinner has won 4 times. And then you talk about, their career win in total. Alcaraz, of course, has won 206 times and lost 53. And talk about Jannik Sinner, he has won 255 and lost 80 in terms of their individual performance so far. I talk about titles. Alcaraz has 16 titles to his name, while Jannik Sinner has 17 titles. And the debate, is gradually building up on who is the best among these two players. I don't know if you have an opinion on that.
Who is the best among these two players? I think for me, it's still time that we tell, because it is too early call to make right now. We can't start
Alcaraz is saying that Sinner is the best. Is that really true?
Sometimes we say maybe it's a mind game as well. Sometimes you just don't think about it. Maybe in the present that we are talking about, because for the fact that Jannik Sinner is seated as world number 1, unarguably, we want to say yes, he is the best, maybe for the present. But if you take a look at past record, take a look at the win ratio of Carlos Alcaraz, juxtapose that with the win ratio of Jannik Sinner, we want to say maybe Carlos Alcaraz is the best. Then again, there are too many angles to these issues right now, to these very debates. Now we talk about the best as we stand between Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz. Don't forget that Jannik Sinner is older than Carlos Alcaraz. Jannik Sinner is 23, while Carlos Alcaraz is 21. And at 21, Jannik Sinner has been able to win 16 trophies and has maintained that consistency to stand among the great. While the older player in Jannik Sinner, who is 23, was just coming up, like I told you, just the last 2 years that we began to hear Jannik Sinner making a big,
3 years.
Making a big statement. But the younger lad, talking about Carlos Alcaraz, have been, making a very giant stride for himself. So there are too many angles to this. But like I said, it is too early call to start making this comparison on who is the best as we are speaking right now, because there are so many factors that we need to also put together before we can be able to start talking about who is the best. There is still enough time for us to know who is the best, and the future will certainly tell.
We'll keep our fingers crossed and see how things unravel in tennis. But I can tell you that, of course, the new tennis ranking is now out. I will definitely do justice to that. I'll make a return tomorrow by 7 a.m. on Sports Talk. But at this point, we'll take a break, and we'll come back from this break. We'll tell you what to expect in the coming NBA season, as the NBA, of course, will kick off tomorrow. That's the 2024 and 2025 season. And I tell you, it promises to be an exciting one. We'll come back from this break. We'll unravel all that you need to know about the new NBA season. Stay with us to be right back.
From the lines across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring all the sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economic, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
Welcome back, Steve Sports Extraordinary on Atlantic Television Network, and of course we'll bring you the latest revolving around the beautiful world of sports. And it's time for me to talk about the NBA, as of course the new NBA season, the 2024 and 2025 season will kick off tomorrow. Michael, what are the fans? What do you think the fans should be expecting this time from the new NBA season?
I think the fans should expect glitz and glamour as usual in the NBA season for the 2024 season, because a lot of teams are already ready for this very one. You can't also forget that some of the teams were very, very active in terms of taking part in one preseason tournament or the other, just to make sure that they keep themselves fit. But then we talk about some of the regular names, some of the traditional names who have, over the last couple of 2 years down the line, been able to mount it a serious challenge. We talk about Denver Nuggets, the 2023 winner as well. They've also been doing pretty well as well. But then, though you may want to say they could not be able to replicate the form that we saw them 2023 winning the championship, and with their man Nikola Jokic being very instrumental in that very one. In 2024, the last season edition, they were unable to replicate that form, and that is why we saw Bolton Celtic, coming from nowhere to actually give them a run for their money. They were able to take down some of the big names, and got to the final, defeated Dallas Mavericks, the surprise package of the last season as well, lifted the trophy and surpassed the record of the LA Lakers of 18 championship as it is right now. Then again, I think there's few teams that you need to also reckon with. The LA Lakers, Bolton Celtic, Denver Nuggets, Dallas Mavericks. These are some of the big name teams that you need to watch out for this season. And some of the big players to watch out, you can't forget to mention Nikola Jokic, Jason Tatum, Jalen Brown, LeBron James. Just mention some of these names. And, coincidentally, we are going to see father and son sharing the same court this time around, talking about LeBron James and his son out there for the LA Lakers. So it promises to be a massive one, as we are going to, see the return of the NBA for this season. It promises to be a match watching encounter. Some of these big name teams will be going for the jugular, trying to compete, for the supreme prize. But we wait to see after 6 months to see if any of these teams can actually, coast home. But in terms of title defense, it's been very difficult over the years, for teams that won the championship to, defend it. It has been very, very difficult. The teams that are well known for being able to defend their championship in the past, LA Lakers, Bolton Celtic, but over the past couple of years right now, we've seen it very, very difficult. Let's keep our fingers crossed this season, hoping that Bolton Celtic can do that, because they have an injury-free as it is right now as they are about to start this season, and most of their key players are still very much intact. So this could be an edge for the Bolton Celtic ahead of this season opener.
Let's see what comes up. Can the Bolton Celtic defend the title they won last time? The NBA season is upon us at this point in time, and I tell you, we're going to see some exciting action. But Michael, taking a look at it from what people have actually put up there on which of the teams we will get the title this time. Of course, Bolton Celtics look favorites, for this one. Taking a look at their performance last time, but just like you mentioned, it's been a long time we saw a team coming back, of course, to win the NBA. And taking a look at one of the teams that people are also looking forward to is the Denver Nuggets. Remember, they won it last 2 seasons, but couldn't get their hands on it. And now people are also putting up the Denver Nuggets to be one of the best. If we take a look at the Denver Nuggets, we have the likes of Nikola Jokic. He's been one man who has been shouldering the burden, of the Denver Nuggets. Whenever he's not on the court, the Denver Nuggets seems to struggle. Do you see the Denver Nuggets team, giving that huge support to Nikola Jokic this season for them to get the title?
I think it's going to be very difficult because as their point guard as it is right now, we've seen him being able to shoulder the burden of the team, and whenever he's not 100% fit, the result is always evident that indeed Nikola Jokic is not very much available for the Denver Nuggets team, and most times they struggle when he's not out there. I don't know this time around, maybe other of his teammates, talking about their point guard, can also, improve on their efforts so as to complement the effort of Jokic out there, because it is always very, very difficult to, allow just one man in a team to shoulder the responsibility of a team. Is a very big problem. We see it in the world of football. We see this in the world of tennis, where sometimes, for example, our own tennis team, whenever Haruna Quadri is not there, it is always a very big problem for us, to deliver. Sometime in football, whenever some of their big names, maybe Lionel Messi, then Barcelona is not available in their team, it also affects them. And you can't continue to, rest on your own on one player to deliver the deliverables when it matters most, because sometimes injury might set in. And injury is part of the game, and you can't say because of the injury of one man, then the team has collapsed. It is not a one-man game. It is a collective game. It's a team sport, So for me, I think some of his teammates should also rise up to the occasion, rally around him, so that they can be able to see if they can also make a very strong point this time around.
Yeah, Neil Tutukupo is one man. Everyone is looking forward to the Milwaukee Bucks team. Michael, what do you make of it? Wasn't that a very rosy one for him last season?
Giannis Antetokounmpo last season was a shadow of himself, and I don't know whether he has been able to recover from last season's disappointment to also come up very strong this time around to at least, do something magical, because last season it was very, very disappointing for him. I didn't see him, the massive display we know of Giannis Antetokounmpo. I didn't see that last season. So for me, I don't know, maybe just like I said, if he has been able to work on himself as well and his team as well, because like I will always say, in a team sport, you don't always expect only one man to be doing, the job out there, and that is why it is a team sport. Let's hope that maybe this time around he can be able to stand tall among some of the big name players.
Of course, looking forward to see other teams like the LA Lakers. We also talk about Phoenix Suns as well. These are other teams that everyone will be expecting a very good display from them. We'll keep our fingers crossed, and of course, tomorrow we'll start enjoying the new NBA season. Promises to be an exciting one, and let's see how this one, of course, will pan out. But Michael, we saw some matches today in the Nigerian Premier Football League, and I tell you, one team that couldn't get a good start. It was Ikorodu City, but today they had a very impressive performance, beating Lobby Stars, being coached by Daniel Omokachi, 4-2 in today's encounter.
It was a great one for them, or it is a great one for them, rather. Don't forget, 3 weeks ago, they actually recorded their first win at home, getting all 3 points. Building up to that, they went away as well to secure a very vital point. This time around, returning with another massive display, getting all 3 points, a convincing win, 4-2. I tell you, look as though they are trying to gain mastery of what the NPFL League is all about right now. And you can truly say, yeah, maybe they have learned their lesson from the very first few games, because it is always a very difficult terrain. You coming up from the NNL, try to square up shoulder against some of the big boys in the NPFL, always very, very difficult. So let's assume that they've actually learned their lesson from the first 4-5 games of the season. This time around, maybe, because of this a positive result, it will further boost their confidence to say, yes, I think we've gained that experience to start churning out some points against some of the traditional team right here in the NPFL. So in all, it is a very good and a positive result for Ikorodu City.
Ikorodu City had a very impressive time, but Michael, I tell you, Rivers United, they're on fire. Finidi George this time is not taking anything for granted. They just got all 3 points away from home this time with a man down. What do you make of it for Rivers United?
It's been an impressive start for Finidi George, but like I said 3 days ago, that it is too early call to make as it is right now. We still have about 30-something games to go. But then one thing is very certain, that you need to give it to Finidi George for the first 7 games that he has played so far without losing any. I think he still remains...
This is match day 8?
Yes, match day 8. Still remaining, a few games, many games to play right now. So you can actually give some flowers or some credit to Finidi George, but then it is not yet an Uhuru. there are still more games to come.
Still more games to come, and let's see how it goes for Rivers United. But so far, so good. It's been an impressive one for the Pride of Rivers. Aqua United currently on against Rangers International. A very interesting encounter down there in Akwa Ibom State. And Shooting Stars also on against Katsina United. I'll see how all of those results, of course, will pan out. But let's take a trip now to the Premier League as we saw some exciting action as well. Michael, was really an impressive one. But talking about the Premier League, over the weekend we saw about 9 matches being played, 27 goals scored, 4 home wins and 5 away wins. A total of 50 yellow cards were distributed and 5 red cards. What do you make of the statistics in the Premier League over the weekend?
Very intimidating cards. The over 50 yellow card given 5 red card. I think for me, it looked as though temper actually fled in the weekend in the English Premier League. And going by that record of card, I think it's not a good one. It's becoming very dirty because when you're having more cards, on the league out there, it simply means that the games was mad with a whole lot of controversy, a whole lot of dirty tackles out there, which actually result to some of those cards out there. But we talk about the goals scored, 27 goals in 9 games, having an average of 2.something% ratio goals scored by each game, which for me I think it has been very typical of the English Premier League, because when you talk about goal scoring, I think they always know how to pour in the goals out there. Whether you're playing against small teams, mid-table teams, some of the top 4 teams, they certainly know how to score goals out there. So for me, I think it was a very impressive goal ratio. But then talking about the card, like I said, I think it looked as though it was a very dirty weekend, from the English Premier League that actually resulted or generated such massive cards.
Dirty weekend, of course, it was, but I tell you, Liverpool kept it clean as they beat Chelsea. That encounter 2 goals to 1. Michael, that victory, of course, makes it 10 wins in 11 games for Liverpool this season. What is Arne Slot doing at Liverpool this time?
He's just doing coaching, nothing more than that, because he wasn't doing anything. He wasn't frying, akara or selling moi. He was just doing his coaching job out there. And I think for me, some person will say, just like some of the questions you asked now, radio sister station, whether can we now say that Liverpool is a title contender? Of course, Liverpool, since the era of Jurgen Klopp.
Nobody gave them that chance this season when they got a new coach.
No.
I never expected them to contend for the title.
No, why? They kept most of their players, none left. So you want to say that it was a very good ground that Jurgen Klopp had already laid. And bringing in a coach that wasn't doing very bad from their Eredivisie league out there. So you can't tell me that nobody expected Liverpool. If some of their key players, like the rumor that was making around that Salah will leave as some of their key players, but then it turned out to be lies. Most of the key players, Virgil van Dijk, these are key players for Liverpool, they all stayed put. So for me, Liverpool, you cannot tell me that nobody expected them. They had a very intact squad, and this is a team that also competed for the Supreme Prize last season before Jurgen Klopp left, when he said that he was running out of energy. We brought a man that is not running out of energy this time around, to continue building from the corps of players that have been together for the last 3 years down the line right now. So Liverpool, they are always a title contender. Don't forget, in fact, sometimes people say that Arsenal are the greatest bottlers, but I tend to take a different position. Take a look at last season. People continue to talk about Arsenal, their inability to lift the trophy, calling them bottlers and all of that. But I think Liverpool are the major bottlers for me, because Liverpool, right from the get-go, they were at the top of the league. People thought maybe it was going to be a 2-horse race between Liverpool and Manchester City. Along the line, Arsenal came in between, and Liverpool dropped aside, and Arsenal went on to that fight against Manchester City. So it has never been the issue of whether Liverpool is a title contender or not, because since Jurgen Klopp came, they have been a title contender. So for me, I think for Liverpool, Arne Slot is just enjoying the success of what Jurgen Klopp has built, a tagged squad without losing any of their key players. So you expect them to be vying for the... In fact, as it is this season, I will tell you again that Liverpool should be the should be the team that is expected to give Manchester City a run for their money. Then Arsenal will come third for me in that order.
All right, let's quickly bring you some results to solve over the weekend as Manchester City beat Wolverhampton Wanderers 2-1, and as well Tottenham Hotspur beat West Ham United by 4-1. Fulham lost to Aston Villa by 3-1. Ipswich Town lost to Everton by 2-0. Manchester United beats Brentford by 2-1, and Newcastle United lost to Brighton Hove Albion 1-0. And Southampton, of course, lost to Leicester City by 3-2. Bournemouth beat Arsenal by 2-0. A little bit of controversy we saw in the Premier League in terms of the video assistant referee decision where Saliba, of course, was red carded, and as well we saw the same kind of incidents in the game between Liverpool and Chelsea where Tosin Odeabari was yellow carded, and the same kind of incidents, where Saliba was red carded, Michael, and everybody, started questioning the consistency or the fairness of the video assistant referee.
I think the English ref, they will always be on the spotlight for, decisions like this, because it looks as though their decisions over the years have been very, very inconsistent. And of course, you saw some of the clubs who actually led a protest, that the VAR need to be, cancelled from the league out there, but then they did not get to third majority of the vote, and that is why the VAR is staying because of the inconsistency of the decision making when it has to do with the center refs in the English Premier League. But then the incident that happened to us now, where William Saliba was sent off, maybe it looked more likely like the same thing that happened to Chelsea, Liverpool, for Tosin Odeabari, but it's a quite different ball game altogether. It wasn't the same incident, but then there are some questionable calls that was actually carried out by the center ref of that game yesterday. Did not actually go well with some football followers out there. Even Jamie Carragher, former Liverpool legend, also had to also made a say regarding the some of the decision. For example, the referee that was not, the penalty that wasn't awarded to Chelsea when, this young man from Jadon Sancho was tackled inside the 18-yard box. It was very evident. Video clips has shown it times and times again that was supposed to be a penalty, but he did not award it. Now, the second penalty, you saw how the center ref quickly pointed to the box for a penalty that wasn't supposed to be by mere looking, because he was very close to the edge of the box when the Chelsea goalkeeper Sanchez actually came out from his goal line to sweep off that ball, and of course his foot actually contacted the ball first, and the Liverpool player tumbled immediately without any waste of time. The center ref pointed to the box for a second penalty in such a big game. If not for the intervention of the VAR,
yes,
it would have been a second penalty within some space of time. And you know how it is in such a big game, awarding two consecutive, you are going to mar the whole games. So for me, I think the center ref need to be questioned. And then the inconsistency in their decision making is another thing that will leave for the PGMO, to also look into it. And of course, one man that is at the center of it all, Howard Webb, an iconic, English ref out there who should be doing a lot in order to, wipe away some of this debate. Last season, we saw the same thing where Mikel Arteta also came out to take a dig at the referee out there, but he was cautioned. Liverpool as well, the same thing happened to them. So we've seen this inconsistency in terms of decision making from the English center ref, and you begin to ask yourself, is it the only EPL that is making use of the VAR? Other leagues are making it, but every week you continue to see one spotlight or the other, so it's becoming a thing of worry.
All right, I think we'll call it a wrap. We'll continue the conversation tomorrow by 7 a.m. Do it to join us, as it promises to be another exciting time talking sports on Atlantic Television Network. But we can't go without telling you that Yes, Lionel Messi is a sport extraordinaire on today's edition of the show. The man has scored up to 30 goals. He's the highest goal scorer now for Inter Miami in the MLS. After putting up that interesting hat-trick in that encounter. So, Michael, what do you make of Lionel Messi with his impressive display for Inter Miami?
Very, very massive one for him. They're becoming the all-time top scorer for Inter Miami within just a short period of time. Total of 33 goals. Their last game, he came off the bench 50-something minutes to score hat-trick. What a legend that he is.
Everyone is saying that the league is too easy for him. Too easy, that's why he's getting the goals.
I don't think so. And how many of the players that have been there that have been able to make such an impact? There is no league that is that easy. Take a look at the MLS League, even the Saudi Pro League as well. They are professionals that are also plying their trade in the MLS League. So I don't think there is any league that is easy.
And of course, FIFA has given them the go-ahead that they will play in the FIFA Club World Cup. So
yeah.
Really an impressive one, history, at this point in time. All right, so we'll call it a wrap. And tomorrow we'll be back, like I mentioned, to continue with this interesting conversation. Don't forget, please, I need to all the parts of the progress. My name is Kingsley Emmanuel. Thanks for watching.